afternoon on this beautiful sunny day in northern Michigan. One of your fellow viewers has saved you. I loaded a video that I made this morning using a telescope and proving certain things, and a fellow who watches me, I'm assuming because of primitive bows, added a comment that just says, you know, if you're going to continue this, why don't you add a second channel? And it's like, huh, that's a good idea. So you are saved, you are reprieved, you shan't have to be forced to look as subscribers at one more single video I've made dealing with like telescopes and this certain earth movement. So we all owe him a debt of thanks. Anyway, this is going to be a very short video just on the confusion that's brought about by the common names Cedar and Juniper. And I totally understand why people are confused. If you look at the Latin names, if you're going through the Linnaean taxonomy, and Carolus Linnaeus came up with this method of categorizing forms of life, you know, whether or not it's a plant or an animal, running down from the kingdom, you know, Plantae or Animalia, all the way down to the species level. If you follow Latin names, which how many of us actually do, you're not going to get confused because you can see how things are grouped in their relationship to each other. Even though there is a caveat here, that's our word for the day, caveat, is that in some cases you'll still be somewhat confused. Take a look at Indian pipe, for example. If you look at Peterson's guide, and you have a copy of Audubon's Field Guide to Plants, you're going to see that they are placed in two different families. In one, the heath family, and the other, the wintergreen family. So there is some confusion. I'm going to take the cypresses and move them over here. Great trees, but we're just going to concentrate on this juniper cedar debacle. If you're confused about it, and I can be confused too, and other people that actually understand the taxonomy, the Latin names, it's easily understood where this confusion springs from, and it springs from a thing called common names. Common names. What's ironwood? Oh, the people in the back, they're raising their hand. Hop hornbeam. Well, no. Ironwood can also be blue beech. It's a common name that describes the hardness of the wood. Ironwood. Iron is hard, so let's call this thing ironwood. Even though it's more than one kind of tree. Very different. Eastern red cedar and western red cedar are two perfect examples. Now you have red cedar in both the names, eastern red cedar, western red cedar. And so, my goodness, they're just both red cedars that grow on opposite sides of the continent. Just like eastern box turtles and western box turtles. One is on this side of the Mississippi, one's on the other side. You hold them in your hands, you go into a room with dim lighting, and it's hard to tell them apart because they're basically kind of the same turtle. They just have some minor differences. It's like if GM designed turtles, the eastern could be their Buicks and the western could be their Chevys, and they're using the same bodies. The exact same bodies, but detailing a little different. Well, getting back to eastern red cedar, genus and species, Latin names. The genus and species of eastern red cedar is Juniperus virginianus. What's that J word? Everyone repeat after me. Juniperus or Juniperus? If you go to western red cedar, go out to Oregon, nice trip, beautiful state. Western red cedar is Thuja. Oh my gosh, different genus. Thuja plicata. Just basically the same kind of tree as eastern white cedar. There we go again, directions. Western red cedar and eastern white cedar are more closely related than western red cedar and eastern red cedar. Okay. As we're walking through this tangle, this rolled up ball of twine that we're trying to unroll to make sense of all this stuff, if eastern red cedar and western red cedar are so different, why are they called cedars? Aha! I'm getting tripped up too. Eastern red cedar, I have to do this slowly. Eastern red cedar is also called pencil cedar. It's also called aromatic juniper. It has a whole bunch of different names. Some of those names include cedars, some include junipers. So from now on, primitive bow people who deal in the conifers, let's just call the junipers, even though they're called cedars, junipers. Eastern red cedar from now on shall be called eastern red juniper, okay? That makes more sense than calling cedar, cedar, cedar. Cedar, cedar, what the hell is a cedar? You don't have your field guide with you. You're running through the forest with shoes, my 510s. Good shoes with that unicycle right there because it has pinned pedals. Look at that, I went on another tangent. How can you tell this tree? John, how do I know if this is a juniper, which will make a great bow that has, you know, the ability to make a shorter bow than this and have weights up to 50-60 pounds sinew backed? How do I know that that cedar right there, that eastern red cedar or that eastern white cedar, which one am I going to use? Give it the shoe test, my friends. Take your shoes off, take your socks off, run underneath those trees. If it hurts, it's a juniper, because junipers, they do have scaly leaves like a cedar, but they also have spines that'll stick into your feet like little porcupines. If you run under an eastern white cedar, you're going to be great, because they have those scaly leaves that fall down, dry out, but they're still soft. Okay, so you gave it the porcupine test. Another test is if the tree has been taken down, just look at the heartwood. Juniper has a very rich dark red color. Even western red cedar doesn't have that dark of a color. It's very close, really, a little more red. It's close to Thuja occidentalis, Latin name, eastern or northern white cedar, the same tree. Throw a north or an east on it, same damn tree. Thuja occidentalis. Okay, the color test. Give it the smell test. If you take that, you carve away and you get these little shreddy things of wood, and you sniff it, and it smells like a sock drawer, well, the sock drawer that doesn't have dirty socks in it, the sock drawer that has that little bag of ground up, I almost said cedar chips, but juniper chips, it's going to smell like a hamster cage. I call it hamster wood. There's no discrepancy. What is this wood? It's hamster wood. Common name that I made up. Darn it, that works, because everyone knows the smell of a hamster cage when it has those deep red chips in it. The fourth way, I talked about the porcupine test, the heartwood color test, the sniff test. The fourth one is the gin test. That doesn't mean go out and drink gin. I mean, there's nothing wrong with gin, as long as you don't drink too much of it too often. But it has that characteristic smell. And most of you, and I do not fault you for this, say that the flavoring and the smell of gin comes from not cedar berries, juniper berries, which happen to be common name berry white, berry gibbs. Juniper berries are actually not berries, they're the female cone of the tree. And so, as you're running through there, screaming, as in the case of the juniper tree, because you're barefoot and you're getting spine stuck in your feet, you pick up some berries off that plant, or you see some on the ground, and they're tight, very tight female cones. They smell like gin, and they're kind of a dusky grayish blue. It's juniper. It's juniper. Probably, if you're into bows, Juniperus virginianus. Juniperus virginianus. Juniperus, the genus. Unlike this eastern white cedar, Thuja, it would be the difference of, say, the Johanssons and the Garzas. You know, there's some subtle differences there. Not going to get into that, but I think I'm going to stop it at that. Well, because I make bows. This is an eastern white cedar. I'm not even going to get near calling this a juniper. Thuja occidentalis, very lightweight wood, very low density, very lightweight limbs. The only problem is I have to make this longer than, say, an Ishe bow or a West Coast paddle bow, because it does not have the same capacity for compression as they do. So I have to make it longer. It'll have less bend radius, you know, I can get a good draw length by making it longer. I'm also going to put a very thin layer of sinew backing on here, not to give it that from a thick layer of sinew, but more of a protective layer to keep the back from cracking. And in this way, this will be a very fast 30-pound bow, simply because not the magic of the wood itself and its elasticity and its compression strength and all these other factors. It's going to be a very fast bow because it's a light bow. Take a truck and put a 440 Hemi in it. And I'm talking like a semi-truck style. You know, the semi-truck is actually the trailer. It's a common name. And the tractor is the thing that pulls it. Common names. But put it in a tractor. You know, you have your Kenworth. You take out that big old Detroit diesel and you throw a 440 Hemi in it. Wow. No, I'm not even going to get into that the gas motor can have a lot more horsepower than that Detroit diesel, but it has a lot less torque. Look at that. And then you take a Volkswagen and put that 440 Hemi in it. Somehow, Monster Garage, Jesse James could do it. That lighter one is going to be faster because it can have a higher acceleration because there's less mass to move. It can overcome inertia faster, or better, or more. And that's the reason that this white cedar bow is going to be very fast. Pound per pound, 30-pound white cedar bow could be faster than maybe a 30-pound Osage bow, just because of the density is different. And with that, tied you up long enough, you should be outside having fun in the sunshine. If it's raining, checking the drainage on your trails. If it's snowing, get out there and do some cross-country skiing. But whatever it is, get outside, get away from your computers. Watch my videos and then run outside and play. Thank you very much, and I shall continue to work on this monster so I can do videos build-alongs. Build-alongs that are edited, professional, soundtrack and everything. Thanks for watching, appreciate your viewership, and thank you to that fine viewer of mine that just suggested make another channel. Simple. I get to like go off on my tangents and not bother you who are here for wooden bow making. Thumbs up.